Guys, it's been a truly remarkable day yesterday. Something that has been coming for more than 50 years, and that is the decision by the United States to begin the process of normalizing relationships with Cuba. This is huge. I mean, we've been fighting this fight for 50 years, and it was really interesting to listen to and read on the press office line the remarks by President Obama saying, "Look, what we did for 50 years didn't work. It's time to try something new."
So, well, it's an amazing thing, and I think I think he's absolutely right. I mean, I was actually in Cuba, believe it or not, on holiday when Castro handed over to his brother, and it was quite a jittery time there, frankly. Cuba is an interesting place. It's almost somewhere in aspic, really, because the cars that are there are from the 50s, and what you become aware of is how, poor but happy people are, actually. The first thing you see is there aren't any, commercialization, no Pepsis, no Coke signs, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, but on the other hand, there is no freedom, there's no democracy, unions are banned, gay rights are tolerated, but they're not really, and dissent is not allowed. But fair play, I mean, Obama said it has not worked, and we're going to do something else. That's a big thing, a huge thing.
I think there has been a big overhang from the relationship with America in the 60s, the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's ironic, actually, that the Cold War mythology is now thawing with Cuba, but we seem to be reinvigorating the Cold War with Putin over the Ukraine, of course. So it's kind of ironic, and also the idea that Cuba represents this evil demon, which seems to be the mythology that's played out historically. When you consider the relationships with dictators that America has had in different parts of the world, it's just it's about time this happened, really.
Yeah. Well, there are some people that are calling this a purely political play, and probably with good reason. I mean, I lived in Miami from 1982 to 1990, just outside of Miami in Broward County, just to the north of it. And it was very interesting to watch the dynamic of those who participated in the 1960 boat lift as well as those who participated in the 1980 boat lift. Those who came in 1960 are the ones that are the most opposed to Castro and to anything like this happening. They saw all of their property taken by Castro. They saw the brutal dictatorship in action. They managed to escape. And they've made, a tremendous life, but it's this enclave mostly in South Florida, in Little Havana, around Calle Ocho, 8th Street in Miami. And it's interesting when you listen to Spanish language radio, if anybody were to say anything even remotely neutral about Castro, you hear them screaming, "Comunista, comunista, comunista, comunista!" And it's almost comical, only it's not, because there's such passion behind it. And the political calculation here that everybody was talking about is that, well, most of those people are old or near death. And so now when you poll and talk to younger Cubans, 2-3 generations now down the road, 50-something years, they're all saying, look, what the hell are we doing this for? This is stupid. We've got to find another way. I mean, Fidel is near death. His brother's not doing so well. Something is going to change there. And there's been a group of people in Miami that have wanted to move in and develop and do the types of things that have been prohibited.
As I understand it, the embargo hasn't been lifted yet.
No, nothing's been. I mean, basically what they've said is over the next few months they're going to have discussions.
And they have an embassy possibly in Havana.
Yeah, they don't have anything yet. I mean, the most important thing from yesterday was that Raul Castro and President Obama spoke on the telephone for about 40 minutes, which is groundbreaking, and that the diplomats apparently, Kerry and members of Kerry's staff and members of Raul Castro's staff, have been meeting in, of all places, Canada, to discuss the framework of how something like this might work. And immediately, of course, people will be able to bring back Cuban cigars. They'll be able to use the financial system, which has been closed off. They'll be able to do all sorts of things.
What about the flights? Is that being lifted?
That will hopefully be lifted as part of the first wave. But, you know, it's all commercial. But the interesting thing about this is how it pokes an eye, yet again, another stick in the eye or finger in the eye of the US GOP, who would prefer to sit back and do nothing. And there's nothing they can do to stop this. And if you look at what the next 2 years are going to be like, Obama is determined to cement his legacy no matter what.
Do you guys think that this might have an effect on Guantanamo Bay? Because obviously Obama's been trying to close that and famously has not been able to do it. And Guantanamo Bay is this sort of, you know, no man's land really in a sense in Cuba, but it is obviously a sort of American military base. Is there a kind of link there maybe?
Well, he shipped a bunch of prisoners down, I think it was to Venezuela or Honduras, one of the two. Just last week. He's been trying to close that since he got into office, so basically he's just going to shift them down. But do not confuse Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, the camp there for the terrorists, and the actual camp itself, which has been there in perpetuity. You know, that is pretty much the only eyes and ears on the ground that the U.S. has in Cuba. They own that base, they own that landmass, and it's pretty much been sealed off from the rest of Cuba for decades. But they're two separate entities. Obviously they want to close the prison. Obviously they want to maintain their presence there. Maybe it now will be able to open the gates and people will be able to go and visit the rest of the island.
Because of course the embargo has to go through the Congress, doesn't it? And that will be opposed anyway.
Well, not the embargo, but if there are changes to trading regulations and things of that sort,
I see, yeah.
that would need an act of Congress to do, and
the Republicans will cut up rough about that, any changes in that. So the political aspect is always there, isn't it?
But do they do that while they're also trying to deport as many Mexican Americans? I mean, the damage to their brand amongst Hispanics, whom they will need in 2016, it will be very, very interesting to watch.
Well, it's fascinating actually, because it comes so soon after that Mexican immigration, allowing Mexicans to legally stay in America, which is another poke in the eye presumably for the Republicans. You know, I mean, in fairness, these are good things, you know, but they have a political ramifications, don't they, for Obama?